It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon or the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Thursday, January 23. China is urging the Philippines to, quote, stop peddling the Chinese spy narrative. Beijing's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning stresses that they always ask their nationals abroad to abide by local laws. With this, Mao urged the Philippines to, and again we quote, stick to the facts and avoid shadow chasing. Meantime, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says China's behavior against the Philippines undermines regional peace. Rubio stresses that China's actions are inconsistent with international law. He also underscores the United States, and again we quote, ironclad commitments under the Mutual Defense Treaty. Rubio made the remarks in a phone call with DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo. All 17 Filipino seamen previously hostage by the Houthi rebels have been released. They are now under the custody of the Philippine Embassy in Muscat, Oman, and are expected to return home tomorrow. The crew has been held hostage since November 2023. A magnitude 5.4 earthquake struck Siocon, Zamboanga del Norte at 11:41 a.m. today. Before this, a magnitude 5.8 tremor hit San Francisco in southern Leyte. No casualties were reported so far in both incidents. 2 soldiers were killed and 12 others were injured in an attack in Sumisip Town in Basilan yesterday. Basilan Governor Jim Saliman condemned the incident and said it was caused by misguided elements of the MILF. For his part, Peace Advisor Carlito Galvez Jr. announces the deployment of joint security forces to de-escalate tensions in the area and to investigate the attack. And the armed forces will investigate the origin and the purpose of an underwater drone allegedly spotted in Bohol last week. The AFP is yet to get a drone from the person who posted about it on social media. Once with the Navy, a forensic probe will be done on the device. The AFP has recovered at least 5 foreign drones since last year. And joining us today from the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan. Ang ating political pundit na si Tito Ronald ay, I think, right now, papunta po ulit ng Europa. Pag-ganon-ganon lang, di ba, Ami?
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday.
Good afternoon. Talagang pag-ganon-ganon lang siya. Kailan lang ba siya Europe? Nagbatikan siya kailan lang? Was that December?
Oo nga. Oo. So, a few weeks ago lang.
Abusado ito
Kasama
ko.
naman.
Akala mo binabayaran natin, no? Ni kape nga, wala, di ba? Anyway, sige, huwag na paalala. Okay. O, Ami, ano mo lang story nyo ngayon?
Ayun, in-amend na yung, amendahin daw yung sa Senate Bill 1979. Tatanggalin yung yung tungkol sa
international standards.
International standards.
Who would have thought that those 2 words would be so controversial? No?
Oo nga eh. Kaya sabi ni Senator Jaime Marcos, chill lang kayo, pinag-uusapan pa yung bill. Sabi niya.
Those 2 words, incredibly controversial words.
Mahaba-haba pa yung usapan dyan bago hindi nga ba, kailangan pa yan ng House version, i-reconcile pa yan, magdedebate pa dyan. It's not as if naman. Anyway, nag-react din si President Marcos. Babasahin muna daw niya
so hindi
kung
ano
yung kalalabasan niya. Hindi ko ano yung kalalabasan daw nung
ng bagong version.
Nung amendment. Yung amendment. Bago siya mag-comment. Kasi hinihingan siya ng comment yata eh.
Kasi sabi niya kasi nabasa niya yung first bill eh.
Committee report yata yung pinabasa sa kanya. Kaya yun din yung from that document, doon nag-withdraw yung 7 senator, di ba? So yun ang hindi ko nakikita ko na yung committee report na yun.
But the committee report can't be more detailed than the original bill.
Yes, oo nga eh. Hindi, baka nga in-interpret yung international standards. Yan ang hindi ko alam Hindi ko pa sa nakikita yung committee report eh. Pero inulit naman ni Senator Risa na wala nga daw dyan sa
Nawala rin sa
bill niya
committee
yung
report.
yung quote-unquote na woke absurdities na tinuturo ni President Marcos. Yan. Kaya iintayin natin kung anong kalalabasan. At bukas naman, mag-umpisa na. Tuloy-tuloy na yung printing ng ballot.
Totoo na ba
Hindi na
yan?
raw magkakaroon. Oo, kasi ang Supreme Court tapos na daw yung pag-i-issue ng mga temporary restraining order sa mga na-DQ. Tapos nag-withdraw yung isang kapangalan ni Senator Amy, yung isang Marcos candidate, na dahilan nung pagsuspindi early yesterday, di ba, nag-announce ang COMELEC na isususpindi na naman nila dahil kailangan may i-add na naman na isa pang pangalan sa list ng senatorial aspirants. Yung isang Marcos din ang apelido.
Yung ba yung Francis Leo Marcos?
Oo, ito yung ibang Marcos. Sabi na nga ng COMELEC, di ba makakagulo yan dun sa isa namang Senator Marcos? Kasi magkasunod sila dun sa listahan Pero ngayon, nag-withdraw na mismo yung pangalawang Marcos na hindi natin kilala.
Hindi, kung yan ang Francis Leo Marcos, that guy, if that's the same guy, he's been quite controversial.
Francis Leo Marcos.
Magmula pa nung pandemic kasi nag-viral yan dati sa pamimigay ng, supposedly pamimigay ng bigas.
Ganun ba?
Oo.
Pero anong trabaho niya?
He claims to be a trillionaire.
Trillionaire?
Oo. No, may ganun, di ba?
Ay! Oo nga.
Tsaka namimigay siya ng mga kung ano-ano. Nagbabiral siya dati. As in, ang dami niya mga followers.
Hindi siya kamag-anak ng mga Marcos.
And I think he was insinuating before that he's one of the long-lost Marcoses.
Kapareho nung nasa Australia ba yan? Hindi naman.
Well, yung nasa Australia, I think naman, hindi naman dinideny yung nasa Australia.
Oo. Ito may denial.
Ito parang, I don't know if there's a denial per se, pero parang he was at least before, he was being looked at with a certain amount of amusement But whatever it was, he seemed to have quite a bit of resources. Kasi as in, may mga truck ng bigas na pinamimigayan dati.
Truck ng bigas?
Oo. As in, ipaparada truck sa mamimigay ng bigas. Kaya, may wagat ang itong bayan.
Marcos. Tunay na Marcos siya
may wagat ang itong bayan na to, di ba?
Tunay na Marcos. Anyway, sabi niya, no one pressured him daw to withdraw.
So why is he withdrawing?
Kaya, ayan na.
But why is he withdrawing?
Ewan ko.
I know.
Yan, hindi ko alam.
But in the end, if it's still his name, you can't really prevent a guy from running for public office just because may kapareho siyang last name, di ba? I mean, it's not...
Yun na nga ang sinasabi ng Supreme Court. Hindi daw pwedeng basta-basta i-declare na nuisance yung isang kandidato. Dahil lang sa ganyan, di ba?
Kung pangalan talaga niya.
Kaya nga, pero tapos na daw yung mga pag-i-issue ng mga TRO over those issues ngayon. Kaya tuloy-tuloy na yung printing bukas.
Okay.
Kaya double time na lang yan.
Bok, ito namang isang issue na tungkol sa na-i-print na may mga blanco daw.
Oo nga, pati si Senator Ping Lacson pumasok na
Yung controversial na may blanco raw yung Bicam report ba ang sinasabi ni Tatay Diggs o ni Ungab na may blanco at ang sabi naman ng presidente walang blanco yan, pero he's referring I think to the GAA na.
General Appropriations Act, na tama naman siya. Hindi mo pwedeng pirmahan yan na may blanco yan.
But anyway, Bok, let's bring in our News 5 correspondent, si Marian Enriquez, reporting from the House. Anong latest dyan sa Kongreso? Ano ba talaga yung may blanco at ano yung wala? At pwede bang, to begin with ba, may blanco ba talaga yung Bicam report?
Yes, Bok, Ami, alam mo, meron nga tayong isang congressman dito, bukod kay Isidro Ungab, na sinasabi ngang nagpalutang na meron ng blanco sa Bicameral Conference Committee report, si Makabayan, member na si Kabataan Party List Representative Raoul Manuel, sinabi niya, pinakita niya yung mismong kopya ng committee report na ipinadala sa kanila ng mga kongresista rito nung araw ng ratification, December 11, 2024, yung kopya ng bicameral na meron niyang mga blanco. Sa katunayan, breakdown na nga niya sinummarize niya, 14 blank yung meron siyang nakita at doon walo doon sa 14 blanks na yon, doon sa opisina ng kalihim ng Department of Agriculture, 2 nga doon sa BIPAR, isa sa Philippine Coconut Authority, isa pa sa National Irrigation Administration, 2 sa Unprogrammed Appropriations. So siya kinumpirma nga niya na totoo may mga blanco doon sa Bicameral Conference Committee Report. Ngayon, ang pinaka-importanting tanong, sino yung nag-fill in the blanks nitong mga halagang ito? Kasi kung maalala nyo merong batas sa falsification of legislative documents na may pwede kang sampahan ng criminal charges against this. Makukulong ka up to 6 years and 1.2 million yung fine kung without proper authority. Kung sino man yung nag-alter, nag-fill in the blanks man ito nung sa dokumentong to. Pero di ba merong mga kahapon nag-press ko na si Senator Jesus Cordero, pinakinggan ko rin. Hindi niya directly ina-address yung blanco doon sa Bicam Conference Committee Report. Parang dismissing na hindi importante yan. Ang importante yung batas, yung General Appropriations Act na
yung pinirmahan ng Pangulo.
Kasi doon, wala pa daw siyang nakikita na may nag-question sa Korte Suprema o dineclare na unconstitutional ang anumang committee report, specifically Bicam Committee Report. So sabi ko, bakit naman parang hindi na itanong or na-address nga rin yung tungkol doon specifically yung walang direct denial, kumbaga, na may ganun ng Bicam report na mga blanco from the Senate kasi meron na tayong ilang kongres na nagsasalita na meron talagang Bicam. Ang gusto lang natin malaman, sino yung nag-fill in the blanks, di ba? Kung with proper authority ba, yung nag-fill in the blanks bago maging enrolled bill. Yun yung tinatawag ni Senator Jesus Cordero. Enrolled bill na pinasa sa Pangulo. Trinay natin, tanongin.
Marian, atasan ko konti, for the benefit of our viewers na hindi ganun kapamilyar dito sa proseso, di ba, ang Bicam, yan po ang body na combined ng Senate and House na magre-reconcile ng pagkakaiba ng dalawang bersyon ng Senado at ng Kongreso. So yung kanilang Bicam Committee Report na na-reconcile na, ibabalikan sa Senado at sa Kongreso at aprubahan yan o i-ratify ng bawat chamber para sabihin na oo, sang-ayon kami dyan sa final na yan. At yung final na yan ang ibibigay sa Malacanang for signing. Okay, itong tanong ko, so, ibig bang sabihin na itong blankong Bicam ang siya ring ni-ratify ng Kongreso at ng Senado? I'm sorry, yung mga may blankong Bicam report, ito rin ang siyang ni-ratify ng dalawang chamber at sinabmit sa Malacanang? Or was it, in other words, were the blanks filled in by Congress and the Senate, or were the blanks filled in by Malacanang?
Yon ang tanong. Kasi sa totoo lang, ang kinumpirma ni Kabataan Party List Representative Raoul Manuel, yung natanggap niyang kopya ng Bicam report na ni-ratify daw, yung may mga blanco. Ang tanong ngayon, kung wala naman daw talagang blanco, syempre sa GAA, sa enrolled bill na tinatawag nila, sino nga yung nag-fill in the blanks?
Pero yung nakuha ba ni Manuel, yung nakuha ba ni Manuel is a copy that they ratified in Congress, or a copy that they were going to ratify pa lang in Congress? Which is which? Was it?
Ito pa lang. Inaayos pa lang. Di ba?
Kasi may kaibahan yun eh. I mean, kung ni-ratify nila, tapos ito yung ratified version na may blanco pala, iba yun dun sa ito yung i-ratify natin, pero may blanco pa. So, what
kasi baka pwedeng nag-iintay lang ng data, di ba? Baka pwedeng nag-iintay lang ng data na hindi, kasi mga numero yan medyo mahirap, kailangan niya eksakto, di ba? Baka naman meron, kaya lang ngayon, ang tanong, yung ano yung inapprove ng Bicam, may blanco ba yung inapprove ng Bicam? Kasi ang si President Marcos, sinasabi na ng Malacanang, sigurado kami yung GAA, walang blanco.
Which, the second statement, of course, that sounds like it's truthful naman kasi hindi pwedeng ilabas ng GAA na may blanco eh.
General Appropriations Act yan.
Oo.
Ito lang, yan nga ang tanong dyan. Yan bang nakikita natin ngayon? Baka naman draft lang yan. Kasi kung meron kang mga saka yung final amount na ipapasok nila, inapprove ba yun ng Bicam? Yun ang tanong dyan. Di ba? At hindi nga, alam mo ba kung sino member ng Bicam? Ang alam lang natin ang mga sigurado tayo, yung mga chairs ng Appropriations and Justice Committee.
Si Zaldi yung isa.
Sino ba ang member ng Bicam?
You have 16 members from Congress and 8 members, I think, from the Senate?
Yes, Senate. Sino ba yung member ng Bicam?
Unang-una
Anong
na naalala
inaaprubahan?
natin, siyempre, yung dating chairman ng House Appropriations Committee na si
Saldi.
Congressman
Yes,
Saldi
Saldi
ko,
ko.
ang political party list. Tiko,
Yes.
wala silang statement hanggang ngayon. Paulit-ulit tayo nanghihingi ng pahayag. Wala pa rin.
Sino
Meron pa
member?
nga isang congressman na tinakasan tayo. Dumaan sa fire exit.
Ganun.
Talaga? Sa member lang. Member ng Bicam lang. Di natin malaman yung member ng Bicam.
yan. Yes.
Considering their power, no, their immense power to change what the entire executive department drew up for a year. Pagkatapos, pinaghirapan ng 2 chamber ng Kongreso. Pagdating sa Bicam, within 1 or 2 weeks, biglang nag-iba-iba lahat. Di ba dapat malaman namin kung sino mga ng taong bayan, kung sino yung mga yan?
Tama.
Di ba?
Sana.
Although tinatamaan lang ng
Maganda
gusto
sana
ngayon
kung
si Saldi ko saka si Grace po. Dapat sabihin nila kung sino-sino pa ibang membro.
Bok, ito, I'm looking at
Di ba?
a picture ng Bicam. I see, ay, teka, I
Paano
suppose
mo
they're all
nakita yung
members,
picture? Ayaw nga nila magpakuha ng picture.
I see
Closed
Jinggoy,
doors.
I see Tolentino, I see JB Ejercito, I see Escudero. Sa congressman, di ako sigurado sa mga mukha eh. I see Saldico, of course. I think I see Riz Ontiveros. Member ba siya ng Bicam?
Hindi nga siya pumirma doon sa GAA.
Okay. Okay, anyway, so there, this is a photo of the Bicameral Conference Committee meeting. Anyway, so yun, I think that's a question that needs to be asked, Marian, from at least from your end sa House. Ano yung kumakalat na kopya from Raoul Manuel? Yan ba'y kopya na binigay sa kanila for ratification ng Kongreso? O yan ba ang kopya na niratify nila? Na may blanco pala. Kasi yun, kung niratify nila yun na may blanco, medyo weird yun. Medyo weird yun kasi yun ang isasabit sa Malacanang. I might still be able to understand na binalik sa 2 chamber na may blanco pa, na may, for example, may itatawag namin sa yung mga numbers to both chambers. Ihabol na lang ninyo prior to ratification ng chamber. That would be more acceptable pa.
Prior to ratification.
Prior to ratification, hindi post-ratification. Pwede mangyari yun. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what happened, pero that could still happen. Kasi that's all internal eh. I mean, it's not in the Constitution naman yung Bicam eh. It's all an internal arrangement under the rules of the Senate and the House eh. So they can do that. Basta lang...
Wala nga sa Constitution yung Bicam na yan. Dapat i-challenge yung authority nila over the budget.
In the chamber, in the Constitution, it just says that bills passed by Congress are to be signed by Malacanang, by the President. The Bicam itself is a creation
ang pagkaintindi natin ng Bicam, pag-uusapan lang ng dalawa yung di ba?
Reconcile.
Ano ba itong ayaw nyo, ayaw natin?
Reconciliation lang yan.
Yan lang.
Para may unity.
Hindi pwede yung dagdag bawas na ginagawa nila. Di ba? Hindi pwede yun eh.
Para may unity ba?
Unity.
So, yun.
Basta
Bok,
unity.
Yan, Bok. Yun ang that's the next step for you guys to figure out at what stage yung blankong yan.
Blanco.
Tama, sige.
May feeling.
Yan dapat din natin tanongin dahil ayon kay Manuel, 15 minutes, around 10 to 15 minutes bago yung ratification nila, natanggap itong kopya na to.
Well, pero Bok, it's also possible kasi that hindi sila binibigyan ng priority because they're in the minority. Alam mo
Baka yung draft ang binigay nga kasi sa kanila.
Minsan may ganyan yun eh. Minsan may bastusan dyan eh.
Kasi ang tinanong namin kung ano na bang nakikita nyo. Nakikita nyo na ba yung enrolled bill? Or ang sabi nila, yung mismo GAA na raw, ang nakikita nila pagkatapos yung binigay nga na Bicam copy.
Anyway, yan Bok. If you can talk to somebody from the majority siguro, kasi the majority would be na, they should be in a position to tell you exactly what they signed. Because they're the majority.
Baka naman sakaling malaman na natin kung sino yung contingent sa Bicam. Oo.
Sorry, di ko kilala yung mga mukha dito sa Bicam.
No?
Oo.
Sana hindi tayo takbuhan at pumunta sa ka-exit.
Interesting yun, sa fire exit dumaan. Tinakbo ng reporter dumaan sa fire exit. Ay.
May video ko.
May video ka, gamitin mo mamaya.
Hindi, sabihin nyo sa majority, alam nyo, at lahat kayo nasa isisi, kaya i-identify nyo na kung sino. Ilan lang yung Bicam na yan, i-identify nyo na kung sino. Kasi lahat nagagalit sa inyong lahat.
Oo, tsaka it's getting more mysterious as we go along eh. If the questions remain unanswered, people start speculating. For all you know,
lahat mo kayo sabit niyan kapag ganyan.
For all you know, there's an explanation to this. Maybe, maybe not. Until it's explained, then.
No, privilege sa kanila yung maging member ng Bicam, so they better be identified. Diba?
So, yun. Okay. Marian, teka.
Okay.
Teka, kami tayo. Baka napunta kasi si Marian. Marian, ano balita sa impeachment dyan? Wala naman talaga.
Oo nga eh.
Wait lang. Impeachment baka mo. Naku, hindi natin makontak ngayon si Sec. Gen. Reginald Velasco. Hinahanapan nga natin ang update.
Nasa second week na ng nasa second week na ng session, ng resumption ng session.
And remember, sinabi niya last week na hanggang ngayon, Thursday, yun yung parang palukit niya sa sarili niya, no? Magde-decide na siya if wala pa rin forced impeachment complaints, magde-decide na siya kung i-submit na nga sa opisina ni Speaker Romualdez. Pero
by today,
hanggang ngayon hindi natin pa siya matawagan, ano?
Correct si Ami,
Sana nandito siya sa banta.
Bok, tama
by
si Ami. Today is Thursday, and of course, Congress does not have sessions on Friday.
Kaya nga, by today dapat.
How can we forget that?
So, alam niyo ba na si Kong Fran Castro, nakausap natin kanina, kahit siya medyo nagdududa na kung meron ba talagang forced impeachment complaint, sabi nga niya, sana, parang wag naman tayo binubola ni Sec. Gen kung meron ng forced complaint o wala, isa lang na talaga. Kasi ang dating parang gimmick na lang daw para ba upuan o patagalin na lang daw itong impeachment. So, iyon. Pero
remember,
pa rin sila na
remember, the Constitution provides that upon filing of the impeachment complaint, Congress has 10 days to refer it
to the Justice Committee.
I'm sorry, to put it under the order of business pala. And then 3 days ata to put sa Justice Committee. So dapat na sa order of business na yan nung December. Kailan ba final yan? December 4? December 14 pa dapat.
Tagal na nga nun eh. Hindi, pero nag-iintay sila ng Yun ang sinasabi nila. They're waiting for another complaint.
Yeah, but you know, Bok, in the end kasi it's the Justice Committee that should be consolidating those eh. It's not the Sec. Gen. So,
although yung isa niyang sinilinaw naman niya, may isang senaryo na di ba? Na baka intayin na lang na i-refer to the Justice Committee after the election na.
Okay.
Sinabi naman niya din yung senaryo yun.
But that's not for the Sec. Gen to decide eh. He's unelected.
Nakalagay kasi doon, sa House Rules ang nakalagay lang doon, once na natanggap na at na-verify ng Office ng Secretary General, should be transmitted to the Speaker's office immediately. Actually,
there you go.
Ginamit lang na term, na word.
Immediately.
Walang exact, specific days.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that in the House Rules. Immediately to be transmitted to the Speaker's office. Okay, sige.
Kaya hinihintay natin yan ngayong araw. Baka may mangyari pa ngayong araw, hindi pa naman tapos.
Hindi pa tapos ang Huwebes, no?
Hindi pa tapos Huwebes, baka may mangyari pa mamaya.
Ang Huwebes, madalas kukunti lang congressman yan dahil nag-uwi na maaga.
Malay mo kung minsan, naabot sila ng midnight.
Kasi Friday to them is the start of the weekend, so minsan Thursday pala nagdi-disappear na yung mga yan.
Pero impeachment siya eh.
Alam mo yung traffic sa pag may long weekend, ang traffic sa SLEX saka NLEX parang ganyan sa Batasan. bago sumapit ang Biyernes, nag-uuwi yan. Anyway, sige, I shall move on.
Sige, baka makulit niyo pa rin, Marian, baka makulit niyo pa rin.
Yes, maghahanap tayo ng
Deadline na nga mo.
mga nating membro ng Bicam.
Okay, Marian. Marian Enriquez ng News 5. Maraming salamat
Sige.
at good luck sa iyo.
Salamat.
Thank you.
Was News 5 correspondent Marian Enriquez reporting live from the Batasang Pambansa. Mag-gap lang tayo, and when we come back, I think we will be
Sige.
talking to an NGO that deals with reproductive health issues in the countryside. So we can talk about the comprehensive sexuality education, CSE. Controversial CSE. Okay, so you're watching Storycon One News. We just need to take a break. We'll be right back. We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon or the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, Ami Pamintuan, the Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Hi, Ami. Still with us. Thank you. And it's Thursday. Bukas ay Biyernes na. Things to be happy for, okay? Okay. Well, let's bring in our guest for today, Amina Evangelista. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Swanepoel? Amina Evangelista Swanepoel, the director of the NGO Roots of Health. It's an advocacy group for women and the youth, I think based in Palawan. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes. And tama po yung pronunciation, Swanepoel po.
Okay, just to be
Thanks
sure.
so much for having me.
Just to be sure. No,
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon po. I understand
Good
po,
afternoon po.
your group specializes in teaching reproductive health and CSE, or comprehensive sexuality education in schools and communities. If I'm right, also you're based in Palawan. Is that right?
Yes po. Yes. Roots of Health, or Ugat ng Kalusugan, is a reproductive health organization. We're based in Puerto Princesa, Palawan, and we've been working on these issues for 15 years and teaching comprehensive sex ed to kids in schools, as well as making information available online, has been one of the main issue areas that we've been working on.
Mm-hmm. Ma'am, my question to you, I'll start off with this. I think the most controversial bit of the debate in the past few weeks is this, the allegation or the assertion that itong CSE, Comprehensive Sexuality Education, will hypersexualize our children. It will encourage them to engage in early sexual activity, among other things. How do you view that assertion po from some groups?
Yeah, we completely disagree with that view. And I watched your earlier show, and when you were talking about the background of all this and how it happened, you even said, di ko alam kung iiyak or tatawa. And honestly, I've done both in the last few days because it's so frustrating to see how the discourse has evolved and how this has been portrayed. Unfortunately, Filipino children are already hypersexualized. If you look around, look at our noontime shows, at the kinds of dances, at the outfits, look at any family gathering, at the, performances na kailangan gawin ng mga bata. Kahit sa mga elementary school, kids are taught to do these dances, and super inappropriate yung mga songs, minsan yung lyrics if you're actually listening. And there's online porn, there's sexting. There is so much already going on. And in the absence of having any kind of sexuality education, our kids are growing up without knowing anything about sexuality. And comprehensive sex ed, it doesn't teach kids how to have sex. In fact, it does the opposite. Studies have shown that kids who are given comprehensive sexuality education are more likely to delay the first time they have sex than kids who are given abstinence-only education or no education at all. So comprehensive sex ed does not hypersexualize children. It teaches them a wide range of topics related to sexuality. And of course, kasama rin doon yung conception, what President Marcos alluded to, the sperm and the egg, how a baby is formed. That's included. But it also includes very important things like relationships and consent and good touch, bad touch. It gives children the ability to be able to say to a trusted adult if somebody has touched them inappropriately or if something is going on that shouldn't be happening. So it actually protects children and it empowers them to be able to protect their health and make better decisions.
Ami.
Ma'am, meron daw. I'm sure you've read about the comments of President Marcos initially, to the Senate Bill 1979. He pointed at, I think, to at least two that he found abhorrent and woke the absurdities. One involved in teaching masturbation to 4-year-olds, and another allowing children to try different sexualities. Yan yung dalawang dinitil niya. What do you think of those comments?
Well, I was watching his comments, and as soon as he said those things, when he said you would teach children how to masturbate, I was so frustrated and disappointed because earlier he had said that he read the bill, but he clearly did not for those statements, because as you pointed out in your earlier show, there is no mention of this at all in any versions of the bill that have ever existed. Never po nakasama ang masturbation. That is not a part of it. And honestly, I think this really raises a lot of questions about fake news and misinformation, and how it can go from being something that, pinapasa-pasa lang po sa mga chat, but then suddenly the president of our country, instead of actually referring back to the text of a bill, is quoting back misinformation. It's really troubling because, of course, those allegations that he made do not exist in any version of this bill that has ever existed.
But he says that he
But
read
some
the
of the
bill.
opponents are pointing to international standards. In fact, that's what Senator Risa Ontiveros deleted from the bill, no? Yung guided by international standards. And they're saying, although denied by the UN, na it's in the international standards, those woke absurdities that President Marcos is pointing to.
Yes, it is there, and as was noted, that is, in particular, are the guidelines for the comprehensive sex ed in Europe. And something that I think people need to remember is that we are a sovereign country. The Philippines makes its own laws and decisions. And even if a bill says that it can be guided by something else, that does not at all in any way make it so that pinipilit tayo na kailangan ganito. Senator Ontiveros has been very clear from the beginning that this is something that will be guided by DepEd, there will be consultations with teachers, with parents, and comprehensive sex ed is something that is always going to be implemented in a culturally sensitive way. We already know in the Philippines that if you try to implement something in a way that hindi bagay sa kultura natin, it's not going to work. So this is definitely going to be something that is going to be in line with DepEd standards and international guidelines. You can look at them, you can pick and choose the best. And there is nothing in the bill that says that we are going to do everything in those international guidelines. So, I really think there's a lot of fear mongering going on. And, Senator Ontiveros has been very clear that that's not going to happen.
I mean, even in the UNESCO and WHO international guidelines for international technical guidelines for sexual education, it's repeatedly stressed that the countries have to they have to adapt sexual behavior to local values and culture. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not an imposition by anybody. In fact, I also read in the WHO website that the CSEs vary from country to country, as they should, because they have to be adapted.
Exactly. It absolutely is not a one-size-fits-all, and it's always been very clear that these are, there are the topics that are suggested. There are the things that there's research behind, that these are the good things to teach young people. But we're not under any obligation. No international body is going to suddenly say, "Oy, Philippines, you have to do this." It's not going to work that way.
But Amira, one more issue that's come up, and I think this might even be the root of the opposition by some groups, is the role of the state in teaching sex education to kids. There are some people who firmly believe that this should only fall upon the parents and the family, that something as sensitive as sex education should not be taught by a stranger in a common room with other kids. It should be taught only by, for example, the parents or the guardians in the privacy of a family. This might even be a bigger debate among some of these groups. So what do you think of that? How do you address that concern?
It's a valid concern. It is important that young people learn from their parents, and ideally, that their parents are the first ones to introduce sexuality education to them. But the reality in the Philippines is that most parents are not comfortable teaching their kids about this. And for the most part, what they tell their kids is, bawal yan. Wag mong gawin. And that is simply not enough, because especially as kids get older, they want to know, why not? And what are the issues behind it? And so we always tell parents, it's not enough to tell them, bawal yan. What we tell parents, that parents should be teaching the kids about their values. And if the family practices a certain religion, to teach the kid about what the religion teaches them, to talk about the values of the family, and use that in discussing sexuality with their kids. But we also know that generations and generations of Filipinos have not had comprehensive sexuality education. So it's the same problem that teachers face, where a lot of adults are actually scared to broach these topics with kids because they think that the kids know more than they do. And in some cases they do. And we've done research where we had asked parents, like, do you feel comfortable teaching your kids? And 80% of the respondents said that they do feel that parents should be the one to teach the kids. But those same people said that they didn't feel confident. So the problem is that if we say only parents are going to be the ones to do this, what about the parents who aren't comfortable? What about the parents who don't? What about the parents who aren't here? What about the abusive parents? So hindi po sapat to say that it's only the parents. It definitely should be the parents introducing it, but ideally the kids learn it at home, and then they go to school and the learnings are reinforced by a teacher. And for a lot of kids who have absent parents, or even if the parents aren't absent but just very busy with life, sometimes and then kids also who have abusive parents, or just don't have any kind of guidance, sometimes it's the teachers in schools are the only trusted adults they have. So it's really important that kids learn about this from trusted sources, because otherwise they're either not going to learn anything, or they turn to the internet, and there's so much misinformation online. A lot of kids watch porn. They watch pornography as their sex ed, which
Yes.
porn is not real, it's violent, it's degrading. This is not how kids should be learning about sex. So we absolutely agree that parents should be involved, but disagree that it should only be the parents. It should, they say it takes a village to raise a child, right? So you really need to have the kids be able to learn from all these different areas in their lives.
Your group has been providing comprehensive sexuality education. Can you tell us how the children react to these lessons, and how the adults, the teachers, and the parents communities react to these lessons?
Yeah, absolutely. Before the pandemic, our teaching team was traveling all over Palawan all the time. We've taught over 100,000 young people. And the kids love the sessions because we teach about sexuality in an open and honest way. It's not bastos, it's not shameful. We're teaching kids things that they are genuinely very curious about and almost never get a straight answer from any adults.
Excuse me,
So
how
kids-
old? How old do you start the education?
So
At what
we would
age?
start with grade 7 and 8. They had a
okay.
puberty module. They would have
Yep.
a module on puberty, and then grade 9 and 10 a module that's more focused on reproductive health, and then 11 and 12 had reproductive health, STIs like HIV, and kind of life choices. So it's age appropriate. You add things as the kids get older, and it was so needed. We would do pre and post tests when we would teach, so that we can see ano yung alam nila dati, what did they learn. 70% of these kids thought that jumping up and down after sex will prevent pregnancy.
Yeah.
So, this is now, right?
This is
Kids still
the 21st
believe
century.
this, and
Yes. Yeah.
they think that like drinking Tide will cure an STI. So there's so much misinformation,
Oh my
and
goodness.
Diba? And I mentioned earlier that, because generations of Filipinos haven't had sex ed, a lot of times when our teachers were teaching in the front of the room, the teachers would be at the back and they're the ones raising their hands with questions because they never
Oh
got sex
dear.
ed either. So it's definitely, we always have had very positive feedback from the schools, from the teachers, from the kids. And it's just, it can be so good for kids, for the community, for the teachers. It really builds trust when kids know that they can ask questions without maliciousness, and nobody's going to say, uy, bastos yan, wag mong tanungin yan, and instead can just give them the answers that they need. And so in fact, since the pandemic, since the schools reopened, and recently with the no disruptions, we haven't been teaching kids in schools as much, but we do a lot of trainings for teachers. And we've trained about 6,500 teachers all over Palawan to give them the confidence that they need to implement comprehensive sex ed and teach it to kids. And I think it's important to to remember that this is part of the RH law. We've already had
Yes.
comprehensive sex ed. It hasn't been fully
Yes.
implemented, and we've always been calling for the full implementation of the RH law. It's been very uneven, and this is why this new bill is so important, because it goes further than the RH law to standardize what kids learn, how they learn it, when. So it's very, very important. But this was already deemed constitutional by the Supreme Court. So there shouldn't be any drama around this because it's nothing new, actually.
Okay. Ma'am, my last question to you, what message do you want to leave to those who have concerns, the groups that have concerns with the CSE? Let's not call it CSE because it's an acronym. Comprehensive Sex Ed, just to be simple about it, how would you address their concerns in as brief and as impactful a manner as you can?
Sure. So to the parents and to the concerned individuals, I would just urge you to actually read the bill, to listen to Senator Ontiveros, who's the bill's author, and just recognize that the fear mongering, the rumors, the fake news that are being spread about what's in it are false. They're not true. They are lies. So read it for yourselves and don't be scared. And I would really also urge the senators who, had the co-authorship, please don't let fear mongering make you take your signatures away from this, because you know what's in it, and you know that what the misinformation is false. And we just urge you to be strong, because this is really needed for the Philippines. Something that we haven't mentioned before is the fact that we do have alarming teen pregnancy rates. And this all came about because even from President Duterte, we know it's an epidemic. It's a big problem. And with the comprehensive sex ed that we've been doing in Palawan, we've actually been able to reduce our teen pregnancy rate by 60%. So imagine if we were doing this in the whole country. Let's imagine a Philippines where children are not getting pregnant and becoming parents before they're even out of high school.
Okay. Ami, meron pa? Pabol?
Okay na.
Okay. Maraming salamat
Okay.
for joining the Story Conference this afternoon. Amina Evangelista Swanapol. I hope I got it right again.
Swanapol.
Director
Thank you,
ng Roots
Miss
of
Swanapol.
Health
Thank you so much.
based in Palawan.
Maraming
Thank you for
salamat
what
po.
you're doing. Maraming salamat. At
Yes.
maraming salamat din kay Ami Pamintuan, ng Editor-in-Chief ng Philippine Star. Thank you as well for what you're doing. Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.